Talking back tonight, Real News Australia is a terrific website, well worth checking out, and the editor, Lee General Maddox, joins me on Talking Back Tonight. G'day, Lee.
G'day, Christian.
We're going to take a look at three of the big stories on the site at the moment, getting plenty of clicks. Starting with this one, a Western Australian farmer goes to court to take on one of the GMO big corporate giants. This is going to be a fascinating case.
Yeah, what it's all about, you've got Steve Marsh here. This is sort of a David versus Goliath sort of situation here where Steve Marsh, he's an organic farmer. He's a certified organic farmer who has actually recently lost his organic certification due to crop contamination from his neighbour's farm. And his neighbour has genetically modified canola in his field. So that's actually then contaminated his field because the winds have picked up and blown the pollen across, and he's now lost his certification because it's contaminated his field. Now, he's tried to sue his neighbour for compensation over the loss of his yield. And basically, the big boys have come into bat for his neighbour that are actually supported by the GMO industry. Now, what people don't realise is this is the first case of its type that's actually gone underway and is now seen, it's now in front of a court in any parts of the world. So even in America, this actually hasn't happened. So this is a world first, and Steve Marsh he's one of those guys. He's not got any support other than the people. There's a little documentary that was sort of made about Steve, and he's actually got the support of sort of TV hosts and some celebrities there as well. I think you've got the food critic from MasterChef, what's his name, Matt. He's in there sort of trying to get people to support Steve and support people's rights to choose between having genetically modified organisms or not having genetically modified organisms on their in their shopping trolleys.
Yeah. You mentioned the David versus Goliath comparison here, and it would seem to be just that. But I guess as awareness starts to spread and as it's picked up more and more, or we hope, by the mainstream media, do you see this just being the tip of the iceberg here, that the little guy will start to take on the Monsantos of this world?
That's right. That's why I said it sets a powerful precedent, because if Steve wins his case for this compensation, basically it's going to give all the other farmers in the country who are suffering the same sort of situation, they're going to give them the power behind them, because they know that they can actually win. There's a good chance that they'll get away with it because of the precedent that's been set by Steve. However, if he's unsuccessful, it's not going to be good news, because it's basically going to show which side the system is supporting, and that's why it's very important. We need a lot of people to sort of talk about this, and it needs to be in front of everyone, because GMOs are so prolific now. I think I've mentioned just a bit further on in that piece as well, Christian, that were you aware that there's 109 trial sites within Australia for genetically modified organisms? I mean, that's a lot. They're all throughout the country. Now, what happens if one of these fields, even if a trial site, happens to contaminate someone else's field? You know what I mean? There's so many things that can go wrong here.
Lee, this may be another area within our life in Australia in 2014 where the lawmakers and the legislation isn't necessarily up to speed with how quickly the technology is developing. You mentioned it'll be interesting to see what side that the system sides with. Your gut instinct, where does this case... I know it's a legally complicated one, but what's it pointing to here? Is it going to be a case of the big fella winning once again, or things seem to be on the side of Steve the farmer, the humble farmer from Western Australia?
Look, I think he's got a really good case, because obviously he needs compensation. He's lost his certification due to his neighbour's field contamination. But the laws with regards to how this is all set up and having GMO fields is very, very loose at the moment. It's very unregulated, because I think there's actually only even a voluntary 5-metre barrier that could be between your neighbour's fields being GMO and yours being an organic field. Now, 5 metres isn't going to do anything, is it?
But that's what I mean about the legislation really not being up to speed to what's developing in the real world at the moment.
That's right. So hopefully out of this, people will not only become greater awareness will come with this, but the laws will start to change. I think we'll start to see a bit more of a tighter grip coming onto the GMO production here. I mean, I don't think I really have even met anyone that is in support of GMOs. I mean, knowing how bad they actually can be for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I mean, I certainly don't want them around, that's for sure.
Yeah, we will watch that one with a great deal of interest and see whether or
We
not
have to keep an eye on that one.
the big corporate dollar plays a part in this case at all. Lee, another story that you've got on the website, realnewsaustralia.com, independent studies from scientists around the world, once again giving us an idea about the poisons that we're being exposed to on a daily basis, but probably have no idea about.
Yeah, that's right. It's really good to see this one actually, and I was quite surprised to see this actually make the mainstream, which is why I sort of put that as the title. Mainstream media finally starts talking about the poisons we're all exposed to.
We're a little slow on these ones, Lee.
No offense to you, mate, but I mean, you've got your finger on the pulse, which is good to see. But you don't quite often see it. Maybe on the nightly news, so to speak, maybe on Today Tonight, something like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, even CNN is now putting up articles talking about these major studies that have been done by really high-level scientists. You've got this guy, Dr. Philip Landrigan from the Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York, and you've got Dr. Philippe Grandjean from the Harvard School of Public Health. So really, really big recognized names amongst the industry there as well. Now, they've done this study that's taken a long time, and they've sort of narrowed it down to the 5 toxins that are now what they call neurotoxins. So they have a really adverse effect on developing brains, especially on infants, pregnant women with also little kids. Even adults are actually feeling the pain of all these neurotoxins that are around us. And they've labeled some of the main ones there, like lead, methylmercury, arsenic, polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs, toluene is another one. But more interesting to note that they actually listed a few other ones, such as manganese, tetrachloroethylene. You've got polybrominated diphenyl ethers, which are flame retardants. There's pesticides in there, plus you've got DDT, which everyone sort of knows about, and you've also got fluoride. They've actually named fluoride as a neurotoxin. Now it kind of should have shoots down their whole argument on how fluoride is so good for you, and it should be everywhere and should be in the water. When you've got the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the United States, which everyone knows as the CDC, that's sort of amongst the FDA and all that sort of stuff. Now on their website, which I've linked to, they've actually got a little thing that says top 10 great public health achievements in the 20th century, and water fluoridation is one of them. So I'm hoping they kind of eat their words there now that this study's come out.
Now, Lee, the other story that we're going to take a look at, and I guess it's loosely sticking with a theme that we've got going tonight, the headline, "What's in a Name?" People wanting to find out exactly where their food is coming from, but that information not exactly being so easy to track down.
That's right. It's not exactly as readily available as you'd hope it would be. There's phone numbers and websites on a lot of packages you'll see these days leading to the company websites. Or as a colleague of mine, Mick, from Conspiracy Oz, realised that it's you get the runaround even when you try and find out which company you're being pointed to. Now, I actually did this exercise myself. I went to one of the major food outlets and purchased some of their name brand products, which I randomly selected off the shelves. And I looked on the labels, and of course the labels say made from local and imported ingredients. Now, a lot of people sort of think that, they think, it's made in Australia from local imported ingredients. Well, that's great, it's made in Australia. Yeah, there's a little bit of a catch-22 there, is that whole little thing that you just said there of imported ingredients. Now, nowhere does it say what portion of that product has the imported ingredients within it.
Right.
More importantly, it doesn't actually say where it comes from in the world either. This is actually one of the reasons why China is really sneaking a lot of their products into our food systems. They go in through New Zealand because their food law is a little bit looser over there, and we ship them in from New Zealand over here. And that's how sort of China seems to be getting them into our actual food supply. And you've got a lot of other things as well, where I contacted the company involved, asked them for the actual lists of who the manufacturers were and where they came from for the ingredients listed. And not only did they not get back to me after 2 attempts at their online form, I even called them and then they didn't call back, and I called them again and finally got through, and they sent me an email which listed a few partial things and didn't actually quite answer all my questions as well. So I couldn't even get a straight answer after so many attempts. I do name the company involved, but you can read that on the website there. But I also sort of go on to mention that one of the things that is really prevalent is vegetable oil in a lot of the things. And one of the things that they actually comprise of vegetable is canola oil. But did you know that the canola is actually a made-up word? Canola isn't the product. The actual plant is called rapeseed. That's where canola oil comes from. But they coined the term because they didn't want to call it rape oil. So they've basically called it. It stands for Canadian oil low acid. That's where you get the word canola from, which is a genetically modified product once again. So again, we're seeing all of these products really readily available on our shopping trolleys. However, we're not really being told what's in them, and that really irks me, Christian.
So is this across the board with the major supermarket chains, or is it one in particular that you found?
No, it's both. It's both of the main ones. Yeah, definitely.
Check out that one as well as the other ones that I've mentioned, and a whole host of great articles on realnewsaustralia.com. The editor, Lee General Maddox, thanks, and we'll talk to you again on Talking Back the Night in a week's time.
Great to be on. Thanks, Christian.